Hey guys, Mallacht here. This is the long-awaited Mallacht Plants garden tour. I'm going to give you guys a quick tour of the garden. I'm going to try to keep it brief on each plant because otherwise this is going to be way too long. We're going to talk about each plant, what species it is, the particular cultivar, and a short story of what I know from that plant. If I'm wrong about anything or you want to add anything, feel free to do so in the comments. Before we get started, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Mallacht Plants. Also, be sure to join the Mallacht Plants and Your Plants group on Facebook. We have around 5,000 members right now. It's really growing. It's really amazing. We've been doing giveaways every month now for about 7 months. We give away boxes of our Trichoceres pachinoi LER, which is a type of non-PC San Pedro, and yeah, it's a good time. Lots of good posts every day. Very active group. All right, without further ado, let's get to it. So this here is my original Trichoceres plot. I planted this back in around I got out of the Navy in 2006, and I planted this around 2007. They might seem kind of small, for being planted that long, but I can assure you all of these Burgessi here, the bouncing bear botanicals Burgessi here as well, mostly along the wall there. Most of them are the bouncing bear botanicals Burgessi, but most of them have been over the wall multiple times throughout the years. As you can see, this big guy here, nice and tall. Right here we have just your regular old PC, which is indicative by the little the little V notches it tends to get. Quickly, these are normally up on my propagation table here, but we've moved these down so we can show you these. These are really cool. This is Aloe polyphylla, aka the spiral aloe. Is the blue myrtle that we saw on the site. This is a particularly cool one because it actually has red spines on the newer growth. I thought this was really cool. Here we have Trichoceres peruvianus, KK242. Now there's two different plants that that are kind of going around as KK242. I'm not really sure the story of that. I know that KK is for Carell Nyes. They all came from him originally. This was purchased from Cactus Kate, also otherwise known as Vern, quite a long time ago. This right here is Altman's monstrose, very common monstrose plant that you see traded and sold through, a lot throughout the groups and stuff. This right here is short spine peruvianus, aka it's another one of Vern's plants, aka Vern's fastest. Right here we have, this is my biggest ogan in the garden right now. As you can see, it's grafted to the short spine peruvianus. It's taking on the, as you can see, it's taking on the general shape of the short spine peruvianus, which is kind of cool. Also short spine peruvianus here. We've got another BBB. Here we've got Hylocereus undatus, which is dragon fruit. We also sell cuttings of this on the website. I had a really difficult time finding a dragon fruit that was actually self-fertile. They all claim to be, but this is actually the third particular iteration of this same plot here. I've let them get about this big, to flowering size. They flowered, they refused to bear fruit, and then I ripped them out and started all over again. So I've done this 3 times now, and so now I'm proud to offer that plant because it's actually a self-fertile variety. And like I said, many of them claim to be, and they're really not. Here I'm growing, I've showed these off in the group a couple times. This is Dioscorea elephantipes, or the elephant trunk plant. As you can see, this one's starting to form a really cool caudex that will eventually kind of look like an elephant foot. Hence the name. We have some carnivorous plants. I grow some Serencia, some California Serencia, various different pitcher plants. Over here we have the area that I call tropical corner. There's lots of different tropical plants over here. I really love air plants. As you can see, there's random air plants throughout the garden, just kind of hidden everywhere. As long as you spray them occasionally. If you live in a real dry climate here in Southern California, it's actually a Mediterranean climate, so it tends to be really dry most of the year. I try to, when it's not raining a lot, or really at all for months and months on end, I try to spray them twice a week or so, but probably really only reasonably do maybe once a week, and they're perfectly fine with that. I was surprised myself, to be honest. A buddy of mine, he's in the groups as well, Jordan Nash, hooked me up with a bunch of air plants, a few years ago on a trade. And I just put them all over the backyard, so they're everywhere. This is my largest kratom plant, kratom, however you want to say it, Mitragina speciosa. This one has been planted in ground the better part of 10 years, somewhere around that. So I have quite a few varieties of kratom here. I have red vein Indo, green vein Vietnam. I have bumblebee strain, and I have red vein Thai. You know, I love Spanish moss. This is another another type of ear plant that I have all over the backyard. If anybody ever wants any of this, mention it to me and I'll throw it in for free, okay? On orders or trades or whatever. I really love this stuff. You can just pull off a little piece like this and just set it anywhere you want, and just like any other air plant, as long as it gets a little spray here and there, it grows. I mean, as you can see, these ones have gotten quite robust, and it's really cool. They look kind of dead and gray, but then when you spray them, you can see all the green. It's really kind of cool. Lots of various air plants, strewn about in the kratom here. I have some coffee arabica plants actually down here at the base. This is coffee arabica, or your typical coffee plant. This is Monstera deliciosa, which actually bears like a fruit. I believe it's kind of like sugar cane or something like that. This right here is the orchid flower cactus. It hasn't bloomed for me yet, unfortunately, but these have a really cool flower that's really big and looks very much like an orchid. It's kumquats. This is the Maiwa variety. I always tell people to try it. If you're going to get a kumquat plant, don't buy them from Home Depot, because they often just have the Nagami variety, which is a lot more bitter. Asian folk that use these in like cooking and stuff like that, they'll use the Nagami variety for like preserving like jams and stuff like that. Stuff where there's a lot of sugar added to it, right? This variety, though, as you can see, is delicious. Take it fresh. I like to kind of squeeze out the seeds and eat them, but you can eat the seeds too. The peel is actually the sweet part in kumquats, which is really cool. But yeah, highly nutritious. As little as about 60 grams of this has as much vitamin C as a full navel orange, so a big old fat like orange like this. And I've actually weighed that. That's a small handful of kumquats that just fits in like the palm of your hand, like maybe like 4 or 5 of them. Very important with all this COVID-19 stuff going on, right? Get your vitamin C, guys. Here I have probably my all-time favorite flower. I really love these. These are actually Peruvian lilies. They're a form of Alstroemeria that I really don't know if they're actually from Peru or not, but that's what they're called, Peruvian lilies. That's the particular cultivar name. It's Mammillaria gracilis Arizona snowcap. It's a monstrous form of Mammillaria gracilis, of course. I will eventually have these for sale on the website. They're being kind of stubborn to root, but you can see why they call them the Arizona snowcap. Almost looks like it's been snowed on or something, right? It's kind of cool. Like I said, they're being kind of stubborn to root though, but as soon as these decide to root and start growing, those will be available on the website. Here we also, not much else to see here. We have a bunch of the BBB Burgessii. These are just, the pots that I take most of the cuttings from. There are a lot more in other locations. Throughout the cactus plots, I have both purple and white alyssum. I'll give these to my beautiful lady here. Thank you. Those are planted throughout the garden for a particular reason, other than the fact that they just look beautiful, right? Alyssum is actually a plant that I found on a list of ladybug attracting plants. So I like to plant these at the base of the Trichocereus, right? Because they attract ladybugs and other like beneficial insects. Because as I'm sure a lot of you know, anytime we commit the almighty sin of monoculture, right? Cultivating entirely one species or mostly one species in a all right next to each other in a dense area, you also introduce the unfortunate circumstance of having a bunch of really negative insects that come munching on the sensitive tips of your plant. That brings me to this. We have Ogun. This is Ogun. This is my original in-ground Ogun. There's another one right here. I originally purchased these from Sacred Succulents. That's the original 2 cuttings. This one right here has been pretty stubborn to grow. It was actually in another spot where it wasn't getting much light for a while, and I transplanted it here to it seems to be kind of picking up now. This is where a lot of the interesting stuff starts, because these plots were planted much later than a first in-ground plot that we that we talked about first. So I planted pretty much these 3 plots here all around the same time and did the little paths maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. Here we've got TPQC, very popular clone by the infamous Nitrogen. You know, the guy that came up with he actually lives pretty local here in Long Beach area, although I've never met him. He has done a lot of really cool work with like mutants and stuff like that. Here we have SSO2 crossed with Sarah Blue. The cultivar name of this is Valeli. I got this from our good friend in the groups, Richard Hip. Here we have Grandfather, my all-time favorite cactus, for obvious reasons. I mean, look at that thing. I mean, I've had people that don't even like cacti back here. You're just going like, wow, what's that one? The deal is, it's just awesome. Look at it in all of its glory, right? Here's another sacred succulents plant. This is SSO2 crossed with Kimura's spiny giant. This one, I've seen a lot of plants from that particular cross, and it seems like most of y'all out there got, like, you know, some really different looking plants in this one. This one's particularly unique looking, which is why I've you know, made it a point to put it in ground and, you know, give it a special spot. This here is, of course, I'm sure many of you are already screaming out the name. You know what it is? Landfill. Okay, looks a lot. You know, a lot of people think it looks a lot like PC. It doesn't really to me, because, you know, one of the things, like, you know, I'd like to point out here is, you know, landfill doesn't really have like the notches like PC has, right? But, you know, it's obviously not PC, but you know, many do say that it looks like it. Here we have Taz. Taz was named Taz. It was from a batch of seed-grown Burgessae. It was clearly open pollinated, I would imagine. I believe the seed was sourced from World Seed Supply, but as you can tell, I mean, it definitely has some sort of cross in it. You know, because it doesn't look like your classic Burgessae, which brings me to a very classic Burgessae. This is OTB. This is OTB, originally sourced from our good friend Chris Mills. This column here and this one right here are the one that I call show quality Peruvianus. I only named it show quality Peruvianus because I bought it at a cactus show. Here we also have kind of intermingled here. You know, I try not to let them cross. These were originally planted with just as much spacing as these, believe it or not, you know. So, you know, real quick, I'd like to caution you guys on, like, you know, how much spacing you give these plants, because if you're in a good climate, like Southern California, or, you know, anywhere in like the western desert area or so, you know, they really end up taking off. So here we have a little bit more of the short spine Peruvianus, aka Vern's fastest. I've just always called it short spine Peruvianus, so that's kind of, you know, that's what we sell it as on the website. This brings me to one of my all-time favorite cacti for sure. Probably this one is probably right next to Grandfather in my heart. It was named after the business. This is Mallacht. Also another, you know, what we call a Burgessoid. You know, clearly has some Burgessae in there. You know, clearly some Peruvianus as well. And then here we have Lumberjack, which is, you know, obviously another type of like Burgessoid. I planted it right next to Mallacht here on purpose because I know many of you have suggested that perhaps Mallacht actually is Lumberjack. So as you can see here, they're clearly not the same plant. Lumberjack has a little bit, you know, a little bit shorter spines, believe it or not, since Lumberjack is known for those vicious spines. Also, Mallacht tends to do this little tri-spine thing here. You see that, where there's no central spine, right? There's just like a little tri, you know, and then further down there is a central spine, you know. But yeah, see, it tends to do that, the tri-spine thing, and then puts off, you know, random like normal spines eventually, like on the older growth. Here we have a particularly slow one from me. This is the one that we call Icaro. It's one of the Icaro genetics from Julio down there in with Icaros DNA, Peru. It's the one that we call Icaro Pheno 2. We will get to Icaro Pheno 1, which is the one that I've actually propagated quite a bit of. I grow lots of fruit trees on the property. This is persimmon. Over there we have Asian pear. We got some, you know, nectarine in bloom right there. One of my favorite trees here, of course, because as many of you I'm sure know, Buddhism is very dear to my heart. So this is the Bo tree, aka the Bodhi tree. It is actually supposedly the tree that Siddhartha Gautama, the original Buddha, actually obtained enlightenment under, and he touched the earth and asked it to be his witness, which is why many Buddha statues you see that he's touching the ground. Very cool plant, very unique leaf structure. It has these, like, you know, very like teardrop shaped leaves. You know, you don't see that on too many trees. It's actually in the fig family, and its botanical name is Ficus religiosa. This is more lumberjack here. Most of the lumberjack that's been sold on the website and stuff has been from these particular 2 mother plants here. It's really been I guess we don't really use this term with cacti, but a bushy grower, right? Upon topping it, it tends to really just go nuts. A lot of these have made really good mother plants. Here is that nectarine that's in bloom here. As you can see, more air plants here. This is an area that I like to call penis corner because it's lots of penis plants here. We have the long form here that likes to grow, nice big long dongs, and then we have the short stubbier form here, right? You got a graft of that form right there. Earlier I mentioned the Icaro 1, and I said that I would, get to a better plant, that I wanted to show in a second, right? This is it right here. So when you see how red those spines are, we really get a sense of why they call them a Peruvian torch, particularly when the sun is coming through those. Those things just look like they're on fire or something. It's really rad. Here, growing over the Mallacht plant sign arch, we have kiwis. These have been very stubborn to fruit for me. Monica, my wife, likes to ask me when do I get my kiwis, like all the time. So, and my answer is when they decide to flower for me, because they just haven't. Here on the other side of the Icaro 1, we have another very famous cultivar. One that's definitely way more well known than Icaro 1. This is Super Pedro, which is suspected to be some sort of Scopulicola hybrid. Right here, we have Moringa oleifera, which is a really cool African plant. My buddy here, who actually has it's a cashew processing plant over there in Africa, he says that this grows just randomly, just all over the property. It's actually pretty delicious. You put a little bit of dressing on it or something, it's really great. One of the unique things about this is it's one of the only plants in the whole plant kingdom that actually has all of the essential aminos. So I highly recommend this. It's very, very good for you. I think it's really tasty. I think it kind of tastes like like a greener kind of spinach kind of. Yeah, good stuff. Also, some other vitamin C here. Oops. We got some Satsumo mandarins, which is a really cool variety of mandarin that is like a mutant form. As you can see, it's kind of bubbly and stuff. Very popular variety of mandarin because it doesn't produce seeds. Over here, we're not going to really go over here or anything, but you can get a little glimpse of it. This is just like our little food crop area. I got a bunch of peppers here on the right. I'm going to clear out a lot of these butterfly and ladybug attracting plants here. This whole pandemic has really kind of opened my eyes to how important it is for us to grow our own food and stuff. Oh my god, delicious. This one here is T. peruvianus Friendship. I acquired this from Lee Jackson. Quite a few people in the SoCal community also have it. Very, very cool looking peruvianus that's just crazy fat. Over here we have, we're not going to go over every single one of these. A lot of rare stuff in here though. A lot of Aussie cultivars. We have Kimnock. We have Shark's Blue. A lot of different like propagation ones, that I end up taking cuts from and stuff like that, so I can let the mothers kind of do their thing. Here we have, I acquired this from Keith Lassen. This is one that's known as Suzy, Soozy, I think. Pretty cool, Pachinoi looking plant. Here we have the relatively famous Shark's Blue. Very, very blue. This is from very famous Poots Nursery up in Northern California area. I originally thought it was a Validus crossed with a Terschekai, but everybody's saying now that it's just a Validus. So this is Poots Validus. Right next to it here, a really cool short spined Terschekai. It's not common for these to have really short spines like this, so this one's pretty cool. Got in full bloom too, or rather fruiting. We got blueberries. I'm really stoked about these. We're gonna have a huge yield of blueberries. These usually yield a nice big bowl of blueberries. I have my in-ground Mimosa hostilis. This has been in ground for also the better part of a lot of these in ground plants were planted about 10 years ago now. As you can see, it's massive. The root structure is just huge. Yeah. Oh, this is T. burgessi luge. I believe that's how it's pronounced. It's a Gaelic word that I chose for it. It means spear of the gods in Gaelic, or the Irish language. Really cool burgessi. This one has a cool story too. So I grew a 100 pack of burgessi seed. I believe they were sourced from World Seed Supply, and this particular one grew just 10 times, 20 times faster than any of their seedlings in that batch. And so I was like, okay, like this one needs to go in ground. And I put it in ground. Pay attention when you're growing those seed-grown cacti, guys, because things tend to really stand out. Really deserve a name and a spot in ground, right? Before we wrap this up, guys, I'd like to talk about the two cacti that are right on the side of the arch. Here we have Taz again, and we have Mallacht. Two plants that I've been growing for a really long time, so I thought it was really fitting for them to be on the sides of the arch. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this. This is my special little haven. I'm more than happy to share it with you guys. So if you guys are interested in purchasing, Mallacht Plants gear, Mallacht Plants shirts, stickers, etc., we have all those for sale on the merch section of the website. I am wearing the Columns black one. These shirts are great, guys. They take forever to fade. This is probably one of my older ones, and as you can see, it's just like barely starting to crack and stuff. I mean, after just try 30 washes or something. I mean, really good quality. They're kind of slightly stretchy material, which I really like. Really very durable, great for gardening in. All right, that's it. Stay safe out there. Have a good day, guys.